In the glass city of New York, it has a way of swallowing people whole. Dreamers, fighters, empire builders. Some rise, most fall. But on that morning, the day everything began, I didn't walk into Manhattan expecting to be lifted or broken. I walked in believing I was stepping into destiny. The sun glittered against the glass towers, casting long beams across the streets like spotlights. The city felt alive, whispering through the traffic, the sirens, the distant hum of ambition. I straightened my tie, took a deep breath, and stepped into the marble lobby of Langford and Pierce Capital, the financial giant known for swallowing competitors and spitting out legends. This was the day I had chased, trained for, sacrificed for. The day I thought my career would begin. I didn't realize it would also be the day it would end. Or rather, the day something far more powerful would begin. "Welcome to power." The receptionist looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Mr. Carson. They're expecting you." Her voice echoed softly against the marble floors. High ceilings, gold trim, glass walls, the place looked less like an office and more like a shrine to capitalism. The air smelled of efficiency, cold air conditioning, and money. I felt my nerves flutter, but forced myself to walk with confidence. After all, I had prepared for this for months. Every part of me was polished, from my freshly cut hair to my portfolio bound in black leather. I had spent countless nights rehearsing answers in the mirror, studying Langford and Pierce's restructuring history, evaluating their mergers, learning their internal politics. I was entering the empire fully armed. Then she approached, Samantha Whitaker, VP of Operations. Feared. Respected. A woman whose efficiency was legendary, whose ruthlessness even more so. Her heels clicked sharply as she crossed the lobby, every step precise. "Mr. Carson," she greeted, extending a hand. "Welcome. We're excited to have you on board." Her handshake was firm, controlled, but her eyes, icy blue and sharp, scanned me as if analyzing whether I was an asset or a threat. The first red flag. But I didn't recognize it yet. "Thank you," I replied. "It's an honor." "Follow me," she said. And like a soldier unknowing of the battlefield ahead, I did. She led me past rows of analysts hunched over multiple monitors, their eyes darting between market graphs and data streams. Traders whispered urgently into headsets. Managers walked swiftly, barking orders as though lives depended on them. The floor pulsed with tension, a living machine of numbers, risk, and ambition. I felt alive. "This is where the magic happens," Samantha said without looking back. Magic? No. This was war. And I was ready for it. The boardroom was colder than the lobby, literally and emotionally. Frosted glass walls. Long mahogany table. Chairs spaced with surgical precision. 6 board members sat waiting. All titans in the corporate world. All known for crushing weak links. I took my seat. "Mr. Carson," said CEO Jonathan Langford, an older man with silver hair and eyes that didn't blink enough. "Welcome to Langford and Pierce." "Thank you, sir. Before we finalize your onboarding, is there anything you need to disclose related to your financial positions, affiliations, or assets?" His tone was rehearsed, standard procedure. But my answer wasn't. "Yes, actually," I said, steadying my voice. "In the spirit of transparency, I should disclose that I hold 85% ownership of Ascend Global Holdings, one of your recently acquired subsidiaries." The room froze. Even the air conditioner seemed to pause. Samantha's pen stopped mid-tap. One board member raised a brow. Another leaned back slowly. Langford folded his hands. 85%? He repeated. Calm, yet not calm at all. "That's correct," I said. "Fully legal. All filings submitted. and I am prepared to manage potential conflicts professionally. Silence floated like smoke. Then, the first whisper. Then a second. It wasn't the disclosure itself that triggered them. It was the power behind it. And in that moment, the atmosphere changed. I didn't know it yet, but I had just drawn a target on my back. When I returned to the office floor, something felt different. People who had welcomed me that morning now exchanged glances before looking away. My emails went unanswered. Files I requested went missing. Meetings I was supposed to attend were canceled. Samantha passed me at one point, her smile carefully polite. But her eyes? Ice. By 2:17 p.m., the Whisper Network had already painted me as a threat, a wild card no one wanted. And at 3:04 p.m., everything exploded. My inbox pinged. Termination notice. Effective immediately. Please report to HR. Cold. Short. Final. I stared at the screen in disbelief. What? I whispered. Samantha appeared as if summoned by the shock. HR will escort you out, she said softly, professionally. But her lips held the faintest smirk. But I haven't even started. It's a conflict of interest, she said. We're protecting the firm. No, I whispered. You're protecting yourselves. Her expression didn't change. Security approached. 2 men in suits. And just like that, the dream ended. I was escorted out of the building like a criminal. The city outside had no sympathy. Cars honked. People rushed. Life moved on. But inside me, something cracked. And through that crack, something new began to grow. Not fear. Not despair. Resolve. They had fired the wrong man. Back in my apartment, I replayed every moment. Every smile. Every whisper. Every calculated action. And the more I replayed, the more the anger sharpened, not into rage, but into clarity. They didn't fire me because I broke rules. They fired me because I threatened their grip on power. But they forgot one thing. I wasn't powerless. I still held 85% of Ascend Global Holdings, a company vital to their new expansion strategy. A company whose majority owner now had every reason to dismantle their empire piece by piece. I sat down, opened my laptop, and began phase 1. For weeks, I moved through New York like a ghost. Not physically, politically. Late-night calls. Meetings behind closed doors. Quiet alliances with investors who had long felt ignored by Langford and Pierce. Whispers in shareholder circles. Dossiers of executive misconduct. Screenshots. Emails. Financial inconsistencies. The deeper we dug, the darker it got. Mismanagement. Illegal lobbying. Risky offshore accounts. Samantha's conflicts of interest. Langford's hidden deals. Every secret became a weapon. Every connection became a soldier. And every whisper became a tremor that would soon shake the firm. The first confrontation happened at the annual investor strategy meeting. A large hall, chandelier lighting, espresso machines humming, the quiet murmur of millionaires discussing their portfolios. Executives walked in confidently, until I walked in too. Samantha stiffened. Langford paled. I wasn't an employee anymore. I was a stakeholder, a major one. A force they couldn't silence or escort out. When the floor opened for questions, I stood. Mr. Langford, I said calmly, can we discuss your projected restructuring strategy? Specifically, the flawed assumptions behind your forecast? Investors turned. Dozens of eyes. Dozens of murmurs. Langford swallowed. This isn't the platform. It is, I cut in, since it affects shareholder interests, including mine. Gasps. Whispers. Someone recorded. Langford's empire trembled, visibly. And that was only the beginning. Over the next month, Everything unraveled for them. Investor calls questioning decisions. Board members demanding explanations. News outlets publishing leaks. Internal audits forced on executives. Samantha grilled privately by the audit committee. Project stalled. Leadership faltered. Reputation corroded. Inside Langford and Pierce, panic took root. Emails filled with fear. Whispers turned into accusations. Executives pointed fingers at each other. And all the while, I said nothing publicly. I simply moved the chess pieces and watched the board crumble. Finally, they called me. A board meeting. The same room where they humiliated me, where they dismissed me, where they fired me. I walked in wearing the same suit from that first day, but nothing else about me was the same. The board sat in silence. No arrogance. No smugness. Just fear. "Good afternoon," I said. "Shall we begin?" For the next hour, I dissected their failures with surgical precision. Every lie. Every mistake. Every opportunity lost. Every ethical breach. Investors listened. Directors took notes. Samantha's facade cracked. Langford's hands trembled. By the end, I wasn't just the victim of a wrongful termination. I was the architect of their accountability. Later that evening, I stood in a penthouse overlooking the Manhattan skyline. The city glowed beneath me, a sea of glass and steel. The same city that watched me fall, now watched me rise. I had been fired on day one. But that firing didn't end me. It woke me. And now the empire that cast me out sat under new leadership. Leadership shaped by my influence, my strategy, my revenge. In corporate warfare, the quietest man in the room isn't weak. He's waiting. And when he finally moves, the powerful fall. Never underestimate the quietest man in the room. The moment Carson rises, the board cracks, and the revenge machine begins shifting into higher gear. Manhattan lights flicker in the rain. Car horns echo like distant warning bells. Power shifts quietly, but consequences never do. The board meeting was only the opening act. Samantha's mask had cracked. Langford's empire had trembled. And the rest of the board was now painfully aware of the one truth they never saw coming. Carson Blackwell wasn't their pawn. He was becoming their new king. But power creates fear. Fear breeds retaliation. 3 days after the board meeting, I returned to my apartment late at night. Rain soaked the streets, puddles reflecting the neon glow. A package sat at my door. No label. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in sharp ink. Inside, a single USB drive. And a note. "You're making dangerous enemies. Stop now." No signature. No need. Threats carry fingerprints, not of hands, but of intention. This wasn't from the board. Not from Langford. Not even from the shareholders. This was Samantha, the VP of Operations. The woman who saw me as a threat from day one. The woman who had the most to lose. I plugged in the USB. A video opened. Blurred faces. Muffled voices. Executives discussing me. Discussing removing me. Not legally. Not professionally. Permanently. The message was clear. Back off or disappear. I didn't back off. I hunted. The next morning, I met with Thomas Avery, an older investor with quiet influence and a reputation for honesty. We sat in a private booth at a Wall Street cafe. Storm clouds gathered outside. "I received your message," he said, sliding me a folder. "You were right. Something foul is happening inside Langford and Pierce." Inside the folder, hidden accounts, unexplained wire transfers, a confidential document titled Project Seraph, Executive Incentive Structure. Incentive structure? No. This was bribery, silencing, payoffs. This could destroy them, I whispered. It could, Avery said. But you need to understand something, Carson. Once you expose this, they won't just fight back professionally. They'll fight back personally. I smirked slightly. They already have. Avery's expression tightened. Then be careful. Samantha Whitaker isn't just a VP. She's the engine behind their darkest strategies. Good. I was ready to dismantle that engine. Samantha Whitaker storms into Langford's office, slamming a stack of reports onto his desk. Jonathan, we need to act, she hissed. Carson is digging into things that were never meant to surface. Langford rubbed his temples. We can't touch him now. The board is watching. Samantha leaned forward. The board is afraid of him. That's not the same as backing him. Langford said nothing. And what happens, she continued, if he uncovers the Seraph files? Or the offshore accounts? Or the restructuring fraud? Langford's expression broke. Fear. Samantha saw it. We need to get ahead of him. Discredit him. Destroy his credibility. If he becomes the hero, we become the villains. Langford whispered. We already are the villains. Samantha's eyes hardened. Then let's act like it. A rumor on a finance forum. Carson Blackwell falsified earnings. A leaked report. Carson manipulated Ascend Global shares for personal gain. Anonymous social media posts. He's under investigation. He's a fraud. He's unstable. All lies. All coordinated. All Samantha. They attack my name, my credibility, my reputation. But they made one mistake. They underestimated the man they tried to bury. I spent years learning how the corporate world manipulates narratives. And now, they were playing my game. I called an emergency meeting. Not with the board. With the shareholders. The real power. We gathered in a private conference hall. Stone walls, dim lighting, a long mahogany table. 27 shareholders. 27 powerful voices. I stood before them with a projector remote. Tonight, I began, you will see the truth behind Langford and Pierce. I will not ask for your loyalty. I will simply show you what they've hidden from you. Slide 1. Bribery payments. Slide 2. Internal manipulation of share prices. Slide 3. Offshore laundering connected to Project Seraph. Gasps filled the room. A woman whispered, Oh my God! Samantha authorized these? Another shareholder murmured. Langford signed every approval. Then I pulled up the final image. A video. The one from the USB. Executives discussing me. Discussing eliminating me. The room went cold. One man stood. Carson, this is catastrophic. I nodded. For them. Back at HQ, Langford sat alone in his office when his phone buzzed relentlessly. Calls. Emails. Emergency notices. One subject line repeated. Shareholder emergency meeting, immediate action required. He opened the first email. A shareholder had called for a removal vote. Not against me. Against him. Against Samantha. Against 3 senior executives. Langford's hand shook. His empire, decades in the making, was collapsing under the weight of his own corruption. And he knew who orchestrated it. Carson Blackwell. Samantha wasn't like Langford. She didn't panic. She planned. She returned to her office, locked the door, and opened a hidden drawer behind a false panel. Inside, a black binder labeled Operation Chimera. Her emergency plan. Her scorched earth policy. She whispered, If Carson wants war, he'll get war. She made 3 calls. Each one dangerous. Each one illegal. Each one sealing her fate. Late that night, as I sat reviewing documents, a notification popped up. An anonymous email. Subject, I opened it. Inside, confidential documents, old contracts, recordings. But one file stood out. A signed agreement between Samantha Whitaker and Ascend Global Holdings, my company, my subsidiary, my 85% shareholding. The contract was dated 2 years before the acquisition, meaning Samantha had ties to Ascend long before I came into the picture. And whatever Langford and Pierce were hiding, Ascend was part of it. A chill ran through me. This wasn't just corruption. This wasn't just revenge. This was a web. And I was in the center of it. Not as a victim, but as a variable they hadn't accounted for. Suddenly, everything made sense. Why they fired me. Why they panicked. Why they attacked me first. Ascend Global, my company, had secrets I never knew existed. Secrets Samantha feared. Secrets Langford buried. Secrets someone was now revealing to me. The last line of the email read, "If you want to win, you need the truth first." Realizing the war he started is far bigger and far more dangerous than he ever imagined. The email that unlocked hell. With the anonymous email, the documents spread across my desk. Samantha's ties to Ascend Global, Langford's signatures, old contracts, secret deals. Ascend Global, the company I owned 85% of, was not just a normal subsidiary. It was a vault built to hide things, crimes, money, names, people, and I had inherited the vault without knowing what was inside. The storm wasn't coming. It had already begun. I immediately called Thomas Avery, the shareholder who had given me the Project Seraph files. He answered after one ring. "Carson, it's late," he said. "Is everything all right?" "No," I replied. "You need to see this. Samantha's been tied to Ascend for years. Before the acquisition." Avery exhaled sharply. "That's impossible. Ascend wasn't even on Langford and Pierce's radar 2 years ago." "That's what I thought," I said. "Until tonight." I sent the document. Avery went quiet. Then, "Carson, I don't think Ascend was acquired because it was profitable." "I know. I think it was acquired because someone needed to bury something. And you becoming majority owner made you a threat." Avery lowered his voice. "Be careful. If Samantha was involved in Ascend before the firm bought it, we're not just dealing with corporate corruption. We're dealing with something criminal." Something criminal. The room felt colder, and the night felt darker. Cut to Langford and Pierce parking garage. 1:12 a.m. Samantha Whitaker drove down the ramp, headlights slicing through darkness. Her heels clicked against the concrete as she approached a black SUV waiting in the shadows. A man stepped out. Tall, broad shoulders, silent, not an employee, not a shareholder, not a lawyer, a fixer, a man whose job existed outside the law. Samantha handed him a folder. "Carson Blackwell," she said. "Follow him. Track him. Learn his patterns." The man skimmed the papers. "Do you want leverage?" he asked. "Or do you want a solution?" Samantha's jaw tightened. "For now, leverage. If he pushes further, we escalate." The fixer nodded once and vanished into the night. The next morning, I visited the New York Corporate Records Archive, a cold, dusty building where old filings go to be forgotten. I met with the director, an elderly man named Harold Finch, whose memory for records was legendary. "Ascend Global," I said, placing the document on his desk. "I need every filing from its inception." He adjusted his glasses. "Why? Most people don't dig this deep unless they're looking for fraud, inheritance, or trouble." "Maybe all three," I replied. He chuckled darkly. After typing for a few moments, he frowned. That's odd. What? There's a 2-year gap in Ascend's archives. No records. No filings. No updates. Almost as if the company didn't exist during that time. That lines up with Samantha's contract, I whispered. Finch leaned closer. Carson, companies don't disappear for 2 years unless someone wipes their footprint. Someone like Samantha Whitaker. Someone like Langford. Is there anyone else tied to Ascend before the acquisition? I asked. Finch scanned the system. Then he froze. There's one name. Who? He turned the screen toward me. The name flashed on the screen. Elias Marlowe. Chief Strategy Officer, Ascend Global. Status, deceased. Death date, 6 months before acquisition. Deceased, 6 months before Langford bought Ascend. 6 months before I inherited ownership. I swallowed hard. How did he die? I asked. Finch clicked. Car accident. No witnesses. Investigated for 48 hours. Case closed. A staged accident. A rushed investigation. A dead executive tied to a company with missing records. This wasn't corporate corruption. This was a cover-up. And I had just scraped the surface. Returning home that night, I felt a strange heaviness in the air. The lights were off. The hallway seemed too quiet. As I approached my door, I noticed something subtle. The doorframe was scratched near the lock. Someone had tried to break in. Or had succeeded. I pushed the door open slowly. Dark. Silent. Then, a creak. Living room. A shadow moved. Before I could react, a figure lunged at me. Tall. Broad. Powerful. The fixer. Samantha's fixer. He pinned me to the wall, forearm against my throat. Stop digging, he growled quietly. You don't know the people you're threatening. I choked out. If you're here to kill me, do it. He tightened his grip. Not yet. Samantha said to warn you. His breath was cold. His strength overwhelming. Then he shoved me to the floor and walked away. But before leaving, he said something that chilled me deeper than the attack. Elias Marlowe didn't die because of an accident. He died because he found what you're looking for. And then he disappeared into the night. The next morning, I received an unexpected message. Jonathan Langford requests a private meeting. No board. No witnesses. Just you and him. It was a trap. But knowledge is worth more than safety. We met in his penthouse, a sterile white space overlooking the city. Langford looked exhausted, drained, defeated. Carson, he began softly, you don't understand the scale of what you stepped into. I understand enough, I replied. Ascend was used as a shell. Records were erased. Elias Marlowe was killed. And Samantha. In the corporate world, enemies aren't created by conflict, but by underestimation. Carson walked in as an employee. He left as a power. And in the end, Langford and Pierce learned a lesson they will never forget. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the storm.